Let's go back to Uncle Jimmy, right? And opportunities. So, I bring Uncle Jimmy an opportunity of a property that's $100,000 in a risky market where these things may happen or may not happen, right? And his risk is fairly high. The things that we said were gonna happen end up happening, and a year later, the same opportunity is $200,000. And we said, we understand your risk aversion, it's 200 grand, these things seem to be happening. This is what we're projecting, worst case scenario, best case scenario. We think it's gonna reach 500. And he says no, and he turns it down. And then he gets to 300. And then what do you think happens to Uncle Jimmy? He gets frustrated that he didn't buy in at 100, and he starts doing his math off the 100 and the 200 he's losing. Not the 200 he could make if it does go to 500 and he bought it for 3. He's now thinking, well, I'm losing 200, even though he doesn't have a penny in the market. That's what happens 95% of the time. I did it, right? Like, people that Marty and I knew growing up bought houses that were not the smartest people on the face of the earth. They just bought houses, put all their friends in it. We spent a lot of time at those houses. We had a lot of fun. We had to replace drywall and things happened. But over time, the principal recapture, they literally is planting a seed. They're farmers. And I equate that to investing. And I love watching our clients grow and do amazing things. And I joke with them, I'm like, I should have gone in on that deal with you, because they're planting seeds. And 5 years later, if they're watering it and taking care of it and they're going back, even worst case scenario, that principal recapture is still there. Right? Because if housing markets crash, guess what happens? The rental demand actually goes up.
Yeah.
Right? Things always balance out. And if the population growth continues to happen, which it historically has, it put things in a very different lens. So don't get stuck on the opportunity cost of what you didn't do, and understand it's not too late. Like, even if you're at an age now that you're like, oh, you know what? I can't imagine a guy. There's one guy in this room that's done amazing things in 3 years. I can't get to that level. He did it in like 3-4 years. Right? You have time. That's definitely something that you need to be aware of. You just got to get around people that'll help you level up.
And acting quickly doesn't mean acting stupidly. Like, you got to make sure that you're buying in the right location, and you want to make sure that the numbers obviously make sense. And again, going back to pre-construction really quickly, just because a building's going up in an area, that doesn't mean that you should buy into that area. Like, we like to stick around transit, because we know, if you look at world real estate, values go up most around transit, and the rentability of a unit or a home or any type of real estate is best around transit. And then you want to look at the builder. Like, we don't want to be the guinea pig. Like, is this their first time at the rodeo? And so what fit and finishes have they done in previous buildings? What's their reputation? There's some changes that are coming around Terry on home warranty, but we can look back and see what type of complaints have been put in about the builder, and then what incentives are in place for you as an investor. So, for example, you want to make sure you have that ability to assign, because financial hardship can come up. Things come up. It's not only used for the assignment clause should not only be used and having the contract just to flip it. We need to make sure that if you cannot close on the unit, that we can get out at some point. And then there's a certain occupancy and registration period that we need to have these incentives in place. So going back to what I said earlier, like, sometimes you don't know what you don't know, but you want to build that all-star team around you. And it doesn't need to be us, but make sure that you're building a team around you. And as Sasha mentioned, in fact, I've never heard him really say it, but he articulated it really well. Like, do the due diligence on the team, on the people. And don't be afraid to tie up a property and then do the due diligence on the property. I see so many people, in fact, we're in contract with someone right now, and I shouldn't say we're in contract because this is the problem. He has not signed the actual contract, and after we're done right now on our way back to Toronto, he's gonna lose this unit. The builder's gonna take back the unit because he's had the contract in his inbox for 48 hours or something, and he should have signed this like 4 days ago. And so the builder's gonna take back this unit, and what he's been doing is not signing it because he wants his lawyer to review it. But you can sign it and then have your lawyer review it. The conditions are in place. And so if there's any tip I can leave an investor with is tie up properties like it's going out of style. Just make sure that in the Schedule A there's a condition that says conditional upon my builder's approval, on my lawyer's approval, conditional upon financing. Have something in there that allows you to get out of the deal, and it's not a firm deal, but go nuts, go crazy, tie up properties, put in offers. That's what you should do. It's good practice, and you never know what's going to come out of a deal like that.
The lawyer review condition is the mother of all parachutes. Lawyers love to kill deals. That's what they're in the business of killing deals.
Yeah.
So be aware of that as well, right? Like when we're communicating with lawyers, and we work very closely with quite a few amazing ones, their job is to make sure you have zero risk. Guess what comes along with buying real estate? Risk, right? And they'll be very clear with you. If you have a good relationship with one, they should be able to talk to you like a friend and say, this is like what I see. And then you should be able to turn to me and say, this is what I see, and have a level of understanding of who you're working with and doing your due diligence on the people that are giving you advice and what their end game is, right? Because people will sign things not understanding what they're signing. Ask a question. We see these contracts every day because that's the business we're in. If I look at my mechanic and he's hitting my brakes with a banana, I might ask him a question because it doesn't look like what he should be doing, right? Mm-hmm. If you read a clause and you don't understand what that clause means, work with somebody who can explain it in detail, and give you the understanding that, your deposit is safe. Because you're signing a contract. A lot of people, that's their biggest concern is that $5,000 or $10,000 deposit. What's going to happen with it? And if they structured things properly and they were transparent through the process with the other people involved, you are protected and you can breathe. But I promise you will keep losing deals if you just look at analysis. And another quick tip that I'm going to leave you guys with is if you're just running your numbers based on what you see online, have fun. Go invest in Nova Scotia or certain markets where you're not going to see any passive appreciation because you're looking at it the same way everybody else is looking at it. You have to understand what is the potential of what you're purchasing. I love the fact that he breaks down understanding what the rental increases are, right? Because I wouldn't have even thought about that. I would have ran my numbers on Toronto properties based on the rental amounts that are going on right now. But you have historical data that says this is what it's been, so let's chop that in half and still be conservative and go back to point A. The residential vacancy turnover rate for properties in London is about 16%. So you can bank on that if I run it at 8, that 8% of your tenants will leave every year over year. That doesn't mean one's gonna leave every single year. If you have 2 tenants, it might take 4 or 5 years to get there. What's your exit strategy to take that unit, renovate it, and then get the value up? Can your real estate agent negotiate a buyout by treating that tenant like a human being and showing up with a $5,000 check that might change somebody's life? We deal with tenants all the time where we do buyouts, we give them that base, tell them to save, get them in touch with good people that show them how to create wealth, and then they come back in 5 years and buy a house with us. Mitch just dealt with one that we actually took to tribunal, and he still wanted to buy a house with us, right? There's ways of doing business where you understand the risk and the reward of what you're purchasing. It's not all on your shoulders, I think is what I'm trying to say, right?
Awesome.
Like you need to build a group of people that you trust and use this room. Like I'm a talking head, I'm wearing a tie. If you don't know me, like I look like I'm trying to sell you something. Talk to the people that are in this room that have done it themselves too and just see what works. And what works for her might not work for you, might not work for him. It's just, you got to carve your own path, but there's so many different ways to do it. And it's the joy of what we get to do. Before we wrap up, I'm going to flip it to you because you have been obsessed with media. You're probably one of the best interviewers that I've seen go from zero to hero in no time. So give me a little synopsis as to what you're doing on the media side of things and where that inspiration comes from.
Well, I have no clue what I'm doing on the media side, to be honest with you. No, we had a radio show on News Talk 1010 and AM 640. See, it was for how long? 5 years, 7 years? 7 years. Back, I guess we started in 2010 or something like that. Both first on News Talk 1010 and then AM 640. And we realized really quickly how many doors that started to open up for us and the connections and the relationships. It was never done for like someone listening and giving us a call and saying, okay, I'm ready to buy my house or I'm ready to sell a house. It really, we were smart enough to know that's not how that's gonna play out. And then after we decided not to do the radio show anymore because it just became expensive, we said, look, what's some new mediums and platforms that we can take advantage of? And podcasts kind of came out, and And I looked over to my partner and said, look, I have a feeling we can be good at this because, I'm always on the phone. It's what I do. I don't have a computer. I don't use a laptop. I don't have a desktop. Everything's done from this guy right here. And I'm on calls all the time. It's what I've always done my whole life. I think I'm going to be okay. I actually think I have a pretty sexy voice, but I mean, that's up to you guys to decide. But I really enjoy speaking with people and finding out what worked well for them, and more importantly, what didn't work well for them. And then we said, look, let's tape it and let others start to become flies on the wall of conversations we're having. And it's just starting to kind of take a life of its own now, where we can do one podcast and we'll rip, I don't know, like 18, 20 little pieces of content from video. I saw Steven walking up to me when he heard me speak about something specific about assignments. He'll go back to the office on Monday and rip that little piece about assignments out, and we'll push it out to the marketplace. There's no secret that we're trying to hold back anymore when it comes to our business. It comes to like real estate investing and even like our business for other realtors to look at. Because we think the pie's big enough, we can all eat. And as a late partner of ours used to say, if we run out of pies, we'll just bake more. We'll figure it out. And we really kind of have that philosophy.
And I think that's a great way to wrap it up, that, it is baking the pies that's fun. I joked that I would have done this for free when we sat down.
You are doing it for free.
Basically I am doing it for free. But my wife's an incredible woman, and she gives me the freedom to do what I enjoy doing, right? Like, I like spending time with people. One of my favorite things, and I sent this to some of the people I sent the invites to in the video email, was in a real estate transaction, I get to spend time with my friends closer than some of their family members, more often than some of their family members, for quite a short period of time sometimes, and quite a long period of time other times. Life gets busy, people go back into their daily grind and everything else, and like everything else, time flies. Really being able to come back to this, on a regular basis is something that I enjoy. And I do it because I get inspired to go out and do different things, right? Like, I'm as thankful for getting this group together as anybody is here for having been here and hearing what Jas and Sasha had to say. So, we will keep this network tied in. We'll send you guys all the updates, all the footage. We've given a platform if there is, any interest in you guys going into the Facebook group, and we'll send that link as well. And you guys can communicate and connect with other investors and people there.
What's the Facebook?
I think it's Prime Real Estate Experience. I'll send out all the links.
Awesome.
We're pretty casual about all this stuff too. Like, we'll keep the email chain going because that's probably the easiest way to update you guys. Jas and I are already talking about doing some crazy stuff next year. Tapping into our network, because we have some pretty incredible people that are all over North America that have already expressed interest in coming down and really networking and speaking in different capacities to you guys. So, I want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart for being here. We're going to open up for Q&A in a second. But Jas, just thank you for taking the team down and coming down to little old London.
I appreciate you. I'll take that. I actually wanted to give a quick shout out to Lindsay on your team.
Bam.
She's been working tirelessly. Where's Lindsay? Oh, there she is. Thank you so much for putting this event together. I know you've been helping Justin. And look, guys, both Justin and I, we're not ones to like harass and call you and like, hey, you want to buy a house? You want to sell a house? You want to invest in a house? Like, it's really up to you guys. Stay in touch with us if you want, and if you don't, that's okay too. Hopefully we brought you like a little value today, more than just the eggs and the sausage and bacon, but we do obviously appreciate you guys coming out on like an early Saturday morning. It's freezing outside, so we really appreciate that. But as I said, like, reach out to us. We're very easy to get a hold of. Call, text, email, bat signals, whatever you gotta do. Get a hold of us. But because we really won't be reaching out to you like often, other than some emails here and there. And as Justin said, we'll be sending out the recording for these for both episodes. And thank you for lasting through 2 episodes, and my voice and Justin's voice. And so give yourselves a round of applause for lasting. Thank you, brother.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Love you.